Hey, what's up, everybody? Had to make a video about the World Cup, especially now that we're in the knockout stages and we've had some epic games and we've had some interesting results, especially yesterday. So today, in this video, I'm focusing on the teams from the Confederation of African Football. So this year in this World Cup, Africa got 9.5 slots, 9 automatic slots, and DR Congo won in the Intercontinental Playoffs. So 10 slots, most they've ever had. Usually in the 90s, there was 1 and 2 slots. Cameroon did well in the 90s. Nigeria did well in the 90s. The spots increased to 4.5, 5. South Africa hosted the World Cup in 2010, and then there were 6 slots in that World Cup. But typically 4 or 5 slots for African teams. And it would be nice if one team qualified from the groups. You get a 2014 where 2 teams, Algeria and Nigeria, qualified from their groups, 2 out of 5, and then 2022, Morocco and Senegal qualified from their groups, and Cameroon and Tunisia won a game or two in the group stage, and that was considered a decent success. So not many people would have thought that 9 teams out of the 10 would qualify for the round of 32, but that was the case, and every team that qualified from Africa to the World Cup this year made it to the knockout stages, barring Tunisia, who had an awful campaign. So we get to the round of 32, and South Africa are the first team to play. They play against Canada, one of the co-hosts. In the 92nd minute, Eustáquio scores for Canada, and they defeat South Africa 1-0. You could say tough luck. Canada was the better team. South Africa couldn't hold them out throughout stoppage time, and they lose. So we move on, and you think to yourself, okay, maybe that was South Africa's ceiling, just making the knockout rounds. Then Netherlands played Morocco. Morocco totally outplayed the Netherlands, but couldn't really score. Gakpo for the Netherlands scored in the 72nd minute, and it was looking like Morocco were going out. Then Issa Diop scores in the 91st minute to equalize, and then Morocco ended up winning on penalties in a interesting penalty shootout where there were a lot of misses for both sides. Bono came up big for Morocco, and they triumphed. Morocco, interesting note is only one of their players, I believe, was born in Morocco that starts for them. It might be Nahi or Nui. I have to double check on that. Don't quote me on that one. But a lot of the players did grow up in play in European academies, whether it be Spain, Netherlands, France, and even keeper Bonu grew up or was born in Canada. But that's a note for later that I'm circle back to. The next African team to play, I believe, was Ivory Coast. They played against Norway. Evenly matched up teams. Ivory Coast were ranked 33rd in the world. Norway were ranked 31st. But we did see um, this Norway team dispatch Senegal 3-2 after mistakes from Koulibaly in the group stages. So the advantage Norway had was the star power with Haaland, but besides that, pretty evenly matched teams and not much in between them. In the game, Ivory Coast had more shots on target. They almost doubled Norway's touches in the box, but none of that matters in football. And Antonio Nusa, who's of Nigerian descent, scored in the 39th minute. Amad Diallo scored a wonderful goal to equalize in the 74th. And the star man of the hour for Norway, Haaland, scored one of his few touches of the night in the 86th minute. After the match, Frank Kessié, Ivory Coast captain and leader, said part of the reason why they lost is because Norway has more experience at this level. Norway have not qualified for the World Cup since 1998. Ivory Coast qualified in 2006, 2010, 2014, and this year. And their squads are comparable in terms of age and experience in general, but in terms of tournament experience, Ivory Coast have more. So that goes to one of my main points about African teams at this World Cup. And that point is mentality issues and an inferiority complex. I'm just gonna say it. How can you just assume that Norway has more experience than you and should be winning when factually it's not true? So I see a serious mentality issue with Ivory Coast. Um, the town was there. They played a team that was on their level. Nothing in between them. Norway made the plays down the stretch. Ivory Coast folded. And then the next African team to play, who was that? We had DR Congo versus England. Now, DR Congo were not expected to defeat England in this matchup. I don't think DR Congo won a competitive match against a European team. They're ranked 46 in the world. But I always said like they're the hardest team in Africa to beat because they're just so resolute. They'll make it ugly with you. They can play in transition. They have good wingers. And Sapanga, their left winger on the day, Brian Sapanga from Almeria, who's probably at his peak right now, he had himself a game. He was tormenting Jed Spence. I don't think we'll see any Instagram posts from Jed Spence on how he locked up his winger today or last night. And Topanga, he really just ran through that English defense in the first half. Uh, DR Congo played a pretty flawless first half. Their goalie made saves when he had to, but they were up 1-0. Topanga scored. And the talisman Lisa in front of goal to make it 2-0 hits the post. And after that, you just thought they might come back to rue that miss. So England, with arguably the best striker in the world, Harry Kane, who's having an historic season goal scoring wise, he refused to let his team lose yesterday. 75th minute, he scores a wonderful goal to equalize, and that goal was assisted by I believe it was Anthony Gordon. It was right after the hydration break, and England just locked in at that time. He nodded the ball into the bottom left corner. Kane 1-1. And then you see the difference in high end quality in Kane's second goal. 86 minute, top of the box, maneuvers around two players, limited backlift into the goal, and scores a wonderful, highly technical goal. DR Congo ended up losing 2-1, but I think they should hold their heads high based on the quality of their team versus the quality of England's team. Yes, you would want Lisa to score and advance for Congo, but that was just a case of one of the superstars of the tournament, Harry Kane, coming through for his country and really putting Congo to the sword. And I think Congo, they'll learn a lot of lessons from this World Cup. Their first World Cup since the 70s. They got their first goals, their first advancements on knockout stages. So it's not all doom and gloom for DR Congo, but it's disappointing that they gave up a goal in the 86th minute. Same minute, Ivory Coast folded in, and just a few minutes prior to when South Africa lost late in the game against Canada. So the next game featuring an African team was Belgium versus Senegal, and this is the game that I'm still thinking about this morning because in the first half, Senegal they were the better squad, but and they're the better squad by far. In the first half, they outpossessed Belgium, outshot them. I got more shots on target. Passes were pretty even, but the flow of the game was just Senegal hit the post twice, hit the woodwork twice. Ismail Sarr, and then he got a cross from Mane, and then Sarr headed it off the post for Senegal's goal, and Diarra was there to tap it in. They came out in the second half focused, and then Ismail Sarr ended up scoring to make it 2-0. That was in the 51st minute after Musa Niakate had a long ball that went through the Sarr. His touch was impeccable, up 2-0. Then Senegal are just cruising. It's looking like how many are they going to score? Belgium didn't look like scoring. Their veteran player, De Bruyne, was taking out their star, and Doku, who was tapped to have a great tournament, he was taken out also, and it was looking like Senegal were gonna just cruise through. Lukaku did come on in to start the second half. He started slowly, but his link-up play improved, and he was a presence in the box. Trossard was amazing for Belgium, and Luka Bakia looked more dangerous than Doku when he came on. And then Meunier and Morea, they solidified uh, the midfield and defense for Belgium in that second half. And out of nowhere, in the 86th minute, Thomas Meunier finds Lukaku. He makes it 2-1. So Senegal, the nerves started to show. Then Yuri Tillman scored a header 3 minutes later off an assist by Leandro Trossard, and Senegal fans were shocked. They looked stunned. Rudy Garcia, he was so animated on this touchline for Belgium. And in desperation, Senegal took off Ismail Jacobs, they took off Idrissa Gana Gueye, they took off Mane, and they brought on Nico Jackson, Malik Diouf, and Bara Njai. Ibrahim Mbaye came on for Iliman Njai like 20 minutes before, and Habib Diarra and Pop Gay both they left the match way when Senegal were still up 2-0. Those substitutions that happened midway through the second half ended up being fatal for Senegal. Lamine Kamara got a yellow card as soon as he got on the pitch, showing his inexperience. Ibrahim Mbaye didn't have his best game, and Pop Sarr didn't have the impact you would want from him. And when they're up 2-0, they had a transition opportunity where they could have slid across and made it 3-0, but Mane takes a heavy touch. And then when he does catch up to the ball, he crosses it right at the defender, and it goes out. And Belgium go the other way and score. Mbaye had a similar opportunity in transition where he could have crossed it to a teammate, and he ended up shooting to Rosie. And that type of decision making just really messed Senegal up in this match. You can tell some of the belief was gone by the time they get to the extra time session, and they didn't create as much. And then in the 125th minute, Tielemans scores a penalty kick to finish Senegal off. In this match, some would say, oh, it shouldn't have been a penalty. Others will say, even on Tielemans' first goal, that there's a foul where he pushes the Senegalese defender. I say Senegal have no one to blame but themselves. And it comes back to that imposter syndrome. They're up 2-0 against Belgium, and they say, how can we fuck this up? The senior politics that have players like Mane, who is their record goal scorer, but if you watch him in his peak and you watch him now, you can see he's just not the same player. He should have been phased out of the starting lineup. But maybe the AFCON victory was a curse in disguise. Even though they're not currently viewed as African champs, that run may have been a detriment in the long run because Koulibaly, Mane, and Idrissa did not have great tournaments, and they're taking up spots for younger players who can make the difference. And you've seen the squad quality they have. So that game is totally on Senegal, just like the Ivory Coast game. I could say South Africa maybe didn't have as much talent as Canada, and it was tough playing, where Canada are on their own home continent. But when it comes to Ivory Coast and the comments from Frank Kessié and then Senegal after the match, Pop Gay said he's taking a break from his team because of this technical staff. Senegal have to make changes. And African teams, I've seen this in the past, and throughout World Cup history, you can see in 1990, Cameroon take England to extra time, or England take Cameroon to extra time and beat them there when Cameroon could have won that match and gone to a semifinal. Nigeria's golden generation, they lose to Italy after a last minute goal in regulation. Nigeria man up, still couldn't win in extra time. And then you go fast forward, Senegal's 0-2 team, they lost the close one to Turkey in the quarters, could have made a semi. 2010, Asamoah Gyan, he misses a penalty in the last second that would have taken Ghana to a semi. It's fine margins like this, and where people can say other teams have more quality, but some of these teams that have enough quality, if they just matched it with a mentality of we're winning at all costs, and we can implement the dark arts if we have to, in terms of knowing when to waste time, knowing when to go to the corner, and also better coaching, belief, then it'd make the biggest difference. Like some of these teams, they don't believe they should be here. And then you have African players or players with African descent on European teams like Tillemans, Lukaku, Dodi Lukabaka we saw today. Saw Onana, who was born in Dakar, Senegal. And they just have a different mentality to the players who were representing African countries or the motherland. So I don't know what it is, but I've seen this. It's a disturbing trend. It's like you saw Pogba destroy Nigeria in 2014. He didn't even celebrate when he scored. He's like, it's almost like he was saying, I don't want to do this to y'all, but I have to. And also, we see something similar with Nusa scoring for against Ivory Coast in Norway. We saw Cody Gakpo scoring against an African team. It just happens consistently where African players either are born and raised in Europe or playing for European teams, they have a field day when they play against African nations, and they just seem to have a different belief from where, however they've grown up and how they're brought up in these European academies with a higher level of technical play and also just which is more important, the mental side of I belong here. I believe I'm gonna win, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to win. You just see how passionate Tillemans and Lukaku were in that second half and when leading Belgium to the comeback. And then you have Garcia, Belgium's coach, making comments like, "We know about teams like this," and basically saying African teams are gonna fold. We know it's gonna happen. We've heard commentators say African players can't concentrate, which wouldn't be the case because the same players who are winning for these European teams, like Olise and Mbappe, they still have African blood, so wouldn't they not be able to concentrate too? But the thing is, Africa's failure at the World Cup allows these clowns to clown us. It allows these people to say whatever stereotype and get away with it because we help them prove it true. Something has to change, and that starts with the federations getting serious coaches, serious facilities, so they don't have to rely on diaspora talent, which is not as sustainable. Even though Morocco, all their players are playing for, are growing up outside of Morocco, they still have a great academy system compared to the rest of the African teams and good facilities that their players would like to come back to. So the other African nations need to take notes on what Morocco is doing, not just recruiting players, but having a plan. Federation like um, where my family from Nigeria, it's a joke. The talent level versus what we see on the field, the disparity is a joke. Um, I'll have more to say about this, but so far, Africa, oof, after doing well decently well in the first round, flopped in the round 32 so far. Cape Verde will play Argentina. Um, Ghana have a matchup tomorrow. Also, Algeria plays Switzerland tonight. They can defeat Switzerland. Egypt play Australia. They should beat Australia tomorrow or be favored to. If the same thing doesn't play them, they'll play the other African teams. And then Colombia versus Ghana. I'll give Colombia the talent edge, but we'll see what happens in that matchup. Cape Verde play Argentina in between that, so three African teams play on Friday. Egypt, Cape Verde, and Ghana. With Egypt being the only one probably favored to win. Cape Verde are a long shot. Cape Verde have the mentality where they can win, but I'm not sure if they have the quality where other teams like Ivory Coast and Senegal have the quality, but showed they didn't have the mentality. Morocco showed they had both. Good luck to the African teams and the rest of the World Cup, and hopefully serious discussions are had back home and changes are made. All right, I'm out.